Welcome to the Power of Design podcast, where we have inspiring conversations that explore the intersection of architecture, construction, and real estate, so we can understand the dynamics and trends that shape an exciting and powerful built environment. This is your host, Jack Ossa. Today, we'll be talking to Joe Franco. Joe is a landlord representation agent and Senior Vice President at CBRE in Charlotte, North Carolina. Joe is a relentless professional. He focuses on project leasing and the strategic marketing of office properties throughout Charlotte on behalf of institutional and private investors. Recently, my firm Ossa Studio have been working with Joe and his team, helping them do what they do best, maximizing value for the clients. Today, we'll talk about motivation, design, and the office leasing industry. This is my conversation with Joe Franco. Joe, welcome to the Power of Design podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Jack. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Joe, you have gained tremendous amount of expertise and have played a significant role dealing with commercial office leasing. What motivates you to be a high-performing professional in this industry?
Well, you're kind to say that. Motivation, of course, comes a lot from family. I have 2 children as of last Friday.
Nice. Oh yeah, you have a brand new baby.
Yeah, sure do. So I have 2 sons. We have 2 under 2. So getting up every day is pretty easy when you have a family.
Sure.
And folks that rely on you.
Yeah, that's exciting. How about your extended family? Where you grew up, where you come from. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. So I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania originally. I lived there till I was about 18 years old and came down, didn't know a soul when I moved to Charlotte. Went to UNC Charlotte. After 4 years there, ended up staying in Charlotte, built a pretty good network of friends and at that point, business contacts, and decided to get into the commercial real estate industry almost right away, right after school. That would have been middle of 2006, officially starting with the first company that I started working with in early January of 2007.
And what kind of things were you doing at that first company?
Sure. So, initially it's interesting. You're 22 years old, 23 years old, and you don't really know up from down. And I started as an assistant property manager out at a Class C office park here in Charlotte in the airport submarket. And it was really just to bridge the gap of time in between getting my full real estate license and becoming a full broker with the company. But it was actually really great experience to first get into the business, understanding the end user's perspective, understanding why tenants make decisions, what frustrates companies within office space, and then how to solve those issues collectively as an ownership group in a leasing and management company. So after about 6 months of doing that, I ended up moving from that satellite location on site at the office park to downtown, and proceeded to spend the next 10 years or so with Cushman and Wakefield, which would have been called many different things prior to that point as they had grown and changed. And then more recently, about 2.5 years ago, made the switch over to CBRE to lead their office leasing program. You had asked originally about motivation.
Yep.
and why I like doing what I do. I'll tell you that my mother was an interior designer, and her attention to detail was so important to her clients, and the way something looks is very important. It's not just about the economics and the math that get you there. From an office investment standpoint, you've got to remember that all that gets packaged up and eventually ends up as a space tour.
Yep.
And the decision of a company to decide to move to this location or to stay or to go elsewhere. So to me, the passionate part of the business is physically the way the space looks and being able to make recommendations to owners and to property managers and to architects and construction folks, so that at the end of the day, we're putting the right product on the field, the right team on the field, if you will, and then seeing that successfully lease, and then which ultimately leads back into all of the economic gains for our clients and our owners. To me, that's the passionate, fun part of the business.
That's exciting because that's why I started this podcast. I think everything you just described is the power of design, and you're designing experience for your clients, right? You're making decisions about what are they going to see, what are they going to experience, in which order, so you can really help them understand the value that you and the product that you're bringing to them. It's helping them, and part of what excites me about this is that we work together. Designers, architects, contractors. We can't work isolated. We need each other.
Mm-hmm.
And
Agreed.
you are that person at the tail end with the client. You know exactly what they ask for. You know what their needs are. And you're trying to work with these other professionals to provide what they need. What do you think it's the thing that makes you good at coordinating all those other professionals? And I will dare to say that what you said at the beginning about your experience with your mother and the interior design, that you understand design, right? That you understand the experience. How do you think is the way you collaborate with them?
How we collaborate with the architects and the
you
contractors.
Specifically, what do you think makes you good, and say, hey,
Sure.
We should do this, we should do that?
Well, for one, the most successful project that I can think of in recent memory, where I really drove the bus on what ultimately would get built and would be the final product, was an amenity space in downtown Charlotte. That was, and by the way, I say all of this story to kind of lead back into your question. It was a windowless amenity space, or a windowless space that we turned into an amenity hub for the building. The building itself did not have a tremendous amount of sex appeal. The lobby was okay. But what the building really needed was something to where when companies walked out of that tour and were done looking at options that day, we were memorable. So one of the things that I like to do is get the entire deal team on board, and do a couple of pre-meetings and talk about what is the vision of this project. At the end of the day, what is it supposed to feel like? What sort of emotions are you supposed to get after you walk out of this space? So that was getting the construction manager in the room, the property manager, the owner, the actual owner of the real estate themselves, the leasing team, the architect, and general contractors as well. And we walked other spaces that had done something similar, not the same, but similar. And we pulled from those different locations what we liked about those other facilities, what we didn't like, and tried to come up with what we thought, given the box that we had, what was going to resonate the best for this building at this current time.
Yeah.
So we did all of that. And one of the things that I really strongly emphasize to the entire team, I like to call it the last 5% of design. And the reason why I call it that is you can spend 95% of the cost on all of the things that are important, but the last 5% are the attention to detail, the finish details, the things that really make people light up when they go in. Look, a bathroom is a bathroom, but a bathroom with really cool, creative lighting in it, a bathroom that has unique wallpaper or a cool saying on the wall, more interesting tile as a backsplash. These are the things that people really resonates with.
They appreciate
with folks.
this.
That's right.
Yeah, they see it, they touch it.
And I think that's something that is missing in my particular sector of real estate, the office side, because, you go into these multifamily projects, these apartment projects, and I mean, they spend a lot of money and a lot of time on the type of detail that I'm referring to.
Yeah.
You go into your most recently built or renovated hotel project, and you're blown away by the finish and the eclectic nature of the space. And it's really cool. And people love, they love the Kimpton brand for things just like what I'm describing. But what's really not evolved as quickly is the office sector. The office sector is a little bit, I don't want to say lame. That might not be the best word.
There's some that are.
Yeah. But it's just, it's not as progressive, Jack. I think that might be the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And, unique and creative is those are the elements that people are looking for. And, we all try to strive for the best talent and the way to generate talent. And it's not just millennial. I think that term is overused.
Yeah.
We're not just trying to make our office building and our office space cool for the 22 to 28 year olds. It's got to be fun for everybody. It's got to be a exciting, energetic environment for everyone. And the way you do that are create that environment that people really want to be in.
Yeah, and I will think that just because of technology, now there's a lot of flexibility, people working from home, people going to co-working spaces. And I think what that's created is that very strong separation we used to have between our home and our workplace. It's blurring, that thing's becoming a gray space. And,
Agreed.
Office used to be very, strict and process oriented, and you just go there to do what you need to do to produce and come back home. But, we're kind of getting more aware that, life is life. There is no life-work balance. We're the same person here. We're the same person there. And you can enjoy the same kind of environment you enjoy at your office that you had at home. And you'll see that, pretty much most of the design trends we see with furniture, more lounge spaces,
That's
more
right.
flexibility, trying to emulate your living room. Maybe the next one is to have bedrooms. I don't know. But I think just give it a little bit more relaxed feeling. And I will think that, there's a lot of creativity that comes with that.
Well, I would agree with all of that. And also, I think the goal of any employer, as you could imagine, is to try to keep your folks working as long as possible and being efficient. And the way to keep somebody, whether it's within the office space or outside of the four walls, the way to do that is to create that environment that they want to spend more time there versus less.
Yeah.
We've all walked into the office that it feels like there's low energy. You look at the people, they have low energy. Well, those folks are looking at their watches and their phones, and they're dying for 5 o'clock to come.
Yeah.
I think what the next generation, both office owner as well as employer that is providing office space, is looking for or needs to look for is an environment that can keep people there longer, encourages that type of collaboration, that bleeding out of the office space into the common area, either of the building or the exterior, where people can then further have discussions about their business. They can generate more revenue for these companies.
Yeah. Who are your typical clients?
So our portfolio is approximately 5.5 million, maybe close to 6 million square feet of office space in the Charlotte area. And it's an interesting mix. We have local clients that are Charlotte natives, local, real estate folks that they work for a small investment company. We have family office groups where it's high net worth investment money that put some of their dollars to work in the real estate sector, and we also have institutional ownership groups, life insurance companies, pension funds, REITs, all sorts of different groups. But the fun part about that is, although it's oftentimes a lot of balls to juggle in the air, it is great to have so many different perspectives on real estate, because everybody has a different take on what is going to make them successful and make the property successful. And, how do they build a different mousetrap than everyone else? And if our team only had 2 or 3 owners, we would only be getting the perspective of a few groups.
Yep.
So we get the opportunity to work with all different kinds of personalities, groups that are extremely well capitalized, and money is, I don't want to say no option or no issue, to groups that they need to make their dollars stretch a lot further because they're maybe more up and coming or a smaller investment company. So helping all of those different types of groups be successful within their respective projects is certainly a fun part of our business.
Cool. Walk me through the process of how do you work with a client since they approach you until you deliver your assignment.
Yeah. So the end result of leasing space, it's actually quite boring on paper, but the process leading up to it is actually the fun part. The way we like to consider ourselves is more consultants than opening doors for people. I really think once you get down to that last step of doing tours and negotiating deals, I think a lot of people could probably do it, but it's more of the consultation approach that are what people are looking for.
We'll be right back with more from the Power of Design podcast.
The Power of Design podcast is brought to you by Ossa Studio, a multidisciplinary design firm focused on creating impactful experiences through the power of design. We partner with our clients to create buildings, interior spaces, brands, and strategies that help you deliver a successful project. As a minority-owned firm, we are committed to building a diverse platform of curious and driven design professionals so we can together pursue our full potential. For more information, please visit us at www.ossastudio.com.
A group will come to us and say, we would like to invest in Charlotte in office real estate. Our deal size is, of course, I'm just making this up, but
sure,
between $25 and $45 million. And can you please help us go find a good investment? So starting kind of cradle to grave on this thing, we'll go out and we will try to find opportunities for them, whether they're on the market currently, widely publicized and advertised assets for sale, or maybe it's an off-market opportunity that we know a current owner is willing to sell, and then we'll try to put those two groups together. So the start of the process is trying to identify what type of investment would be the most attractive to that investment company. These owners, these landlords, they all have some niche, right? They all say we're a value add buyer, so we want to look for properties that have a higher return, and I don't want to say necessarily more risk, but there's more to do. There's a heavier lift to be successful. And we'll go out and we'll try to identify properties that we think there's some, there's a lot of phrases out there, but there's more meat left on the bone, or there's low hanging fruit. Think of whatever fun phrase you want to, but those are the types of groups that will help look at certain types of properties.
Yeah.
Those are actually some of the more fun ones, quite frankly, Jack, because you're maybe taking product that is very traditional and has always been viewed a certain way in the market, and a new owner with new fresh ideas and new capital and a team like ours that can help them think progressively about what can be done, they come in and they do something completely different. And so, companies that had historically been in that building for the last 15, 20 years, we may not be marketing to them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We may be marketing to a more high-end type user that's, able to pay more rent, or maybe they're more progressive of a company like a tech firm. So it's fun taking those projects and evolving what the end product looks like to the market.
Yeah. What would you say is the biggest challenge your clients are facing today?
I would say construction costs. Construction, all these things that we just talked about sound great. Taking a property, breathing new life into it, that all sounds well and good, but that costs money.
Right.
And how do you get your biggest bang for the buck? What elements of the project are you going to upgrade and modify and renovate that are going to really resonate with the market and get you these higher rents so that your investment is a success? And we're seeing that just across the board, construction, whether it's a tenant upfit specific to a group that's coming in, or it's capital to a building, renovating a lobby, things like that. It's going up pretty dramatically year over year. And so you have to try to figure out how to make an investment work when you know that your construction costs are going up.
Right. And I will think the construction cost is the biggest expense in their business model to,
Yes.
To generate revenue, which is, what they're trying to do. So can you give me an example of like their business model? They have money, they buy this building, they get some, leasing terms and some rent money, and they will collect that money, and hopefully they pay for the improvement cost. And then how does that get to profit at the end of the day?
Sure. If you'd like for me to use a specific example, there is a project that we're working on now with the Dillwig companies. So that is a Durham-based investment company, and they bought a project in what is traditionally considered the airport submarket, and they are converting it to more of a creative office type asset. So it's 14 buildings spread across several acres. But the thesis or the business model behind it was, with South End sprawling so quickly, lower South End sprawling quickly, and the development, a lot of it is due to the light rail line and what has come from that. This project is in the right corner of the intersection and in the right area as it relates to the light rail line and lower South End, that we can really draft off of a lot of the success and leasing and development that's been going on in that area. So these guys came in and they bought a project that CBRE was leasing prior to this, so under a different company ownership group, and the rental rates were $17 to $18 a square foot all in. And Dillwig's approach is to invest a little shy of $30 million into the project in exchange for getting rents upwards of $27 a square foot full service. So it's, it's give or take a $9 to $10 swing in rents.
Yeah.
And to the traditional real estate broker or to the market, this property has always been something else in the market's mind. And now it's going to be something completely different.
Right. How long do you think will it take them to, at least break even, and then from that point on,
sure,
create a profit?
Well, of course, there's things that we can control in real estate, and there's things that we cannot control. Oftentimes, we can't really control construction costs and what direction they may go. We can't really control the market and the economy. If there were to be a slowdown, that could have some level of impact on seeing their business plan fulfilled within the time frame that they expected. But of the things that you can control, getting started on that construction early, sending out the rebranding and the new message to the market sooner than later. I think the goal there is to probably have this project where they consider a success within a 3 to 4 year period from when they bought it, maybe upwards of 5.
Yep.
Oftentimes you'll hear investors say their hold period is 3 to 5 years. It's a pretty common response. And you look, sometimes these owners, for one reason or another, hold the property longer. Sometimes they sell it sooner than that. It really just depends on if they feel like they've achieved the goals that they're trying to achieve. They've made the money that they want to make, and then they want to take some of those proceeds and roll that into another project.
Yep.
But at this juncture, they've owned the property for almost a year. They're midway through the construction, so they got started pretty quickly, and we've seen some very early success with not only existing tenants renewing at a much higher number than what they historically had been paying, but also new companies coming in that understand what the vision is for the park and what it's going to be.
Yep.
And then once you have that early success, it really snowballs, because then the construction starts to come to fruition. And then you have a project that people can touch and feel and see those modifications.
Yeah.
And in fact, I believe you were very helpful in that particular project, helping our team from a marketing and architecture process, as well as the Perkins and Will team.
Yeah, I think one of the unique things we bring to the marketplace, with my company as a studio, it's that intersection between the 3D world, which is architecture, but also the 2D world, everything that is branding, communications, flat design, web design, and understanding how do you really communicate the strength of a building, of a space, and give it in a unique understanding where you can highlight what really matters.
Exactly.
Based on your experience and what you see happening in the marketplace today, how do you think the leasing industry will evolve in the future? And you can take it as as 5 years or 50 years. What do you think?
Yeah, obviously I don't have a crystal ball to tell you what 50 years, if my job will exist in 50 years, but I will say that real estate is a local business. It always will be. It's not very common that a company will make a decision remotely and not physically come and take a look at office space and hear firsthand from either the owner or the owner's representative of what the property is going to be like over the next couple of years. What are we going to do to invest in them as well as the property? So I don't know how different our industry is going to be, at least on the brokerage side. There are so many things that you simply can't make systematic. You can't check a box related to improvements to an office space. I don't think will ever come to a point in which somebody from their desktop can just do what you do every day.
Right.
Same with the contractors. So, I think the industry will stay relatively the same. I think where there will be an evolution in the office sector is the experience that owners bring to their projects. Before and for many years in my career, it was all about just providing them the traditional things that a tenant needs, right? Air, heat, elevators that work, light bulbs that are on. As our country evolves into much more of an experience-based group, look at a lot of the retail that's out there now.
Right.
It's experiential. It's not run-of-the-mill. I think that where our industry will go just in general is to a much more concierge-type feel. The offerings of the owners will be more hands-on. I think they're going to provide more common space to tenants. So it used to be I deliver this lobby, and whatever you want to go build in your own space, go build it. Well, now owners are thinking differently. They're thinking more the way multifamily developers are looking, where and of course I don't claim to be a multifamily professional in any stretch of the imagination, but they're building apartments smaller and common spaces
bigger,
and outdoor spaces larger,
right,
to create that more communal environment. I think we're going to see more of that, not necessarily in the ratio of office space to common space, but certainly an element of you have to provide more than just the lobby of the building and a parking lot,
right,
and check the boxes. It would behoove you to have those roll-up doors put in so that you could, from the lobby, bleed out into a cool common courtyard with lounge furniture and a fire pit and umbrellas and things like that. That's what people are looking for as they make a decision. And quite frankly, Jack, people are willing to pay up for it.
Sure.
These companies, they understand the value of that environment in the recruiting and retaining of labor, that they're willing to pay up to be in those types of environments. So the properties that are a dinosaur, if you will, that think the way people thought in the 80s and in the 90s, those types of ownership groups are going to get sort of washed over by the more progressive, creative, and memorable real estate owners going forward.
Yeah, it's interesting how we are, we're selling experiences, and, just keeping it in simple terms. Every business, every company, the biggest and the smallest, when you have a team, you're basically buying people's time.
Mm-hmm.
And you resell that time on your product or your service, but you need to make something attractive for the people. And, even if you think about our homes or residential market, we want a nice outdoor space. We want a nice backyard. There are all these things that they just make your life better because the design of the space is just making you enjoy more. And that's what I really define is design as experience. We're designing the experience of the people. If you design something beautiful, a great building, but nobody goes there ever, there is no value for humans.
And quite frankly, to me, that's the last 5% that we talked about at the beginning of our conversation.
Yeah.
You could have the exact same shell, the exact same functions within a space, but if you have lame lighting, run-of-the-mill color scheme, I like to tell people it's about the textures.
Mm-hmm.
How many different textures do you have in a room? Do you have just white paint and one tone of carpet? Or do you have the creative lighting that, has several different sizes and elements throughout the space? Do you have tile somewhere in the room? Do you have, carpeted walls? The modern stuff, not the old school stuff.
Yeah.
What are you doing to have somebody walk into the room and really be wowed by that?
Yeah.
And so you're absolutely right. If it's somewhere that people don't want to be, then they're not going to be there. And you've spent 95% of your costs to get to that point, but you're missing that one little area, which is the finish detail and the emotion that one gets from walking into a space like that.
You're talking like a designer, right? And I would think that's probably what helps you understand what's happening, because sometimes on all these teams working together, different professionals, maybe if just the designer has the vision and understanding of space, it's hard to communicate to the client. It's hard to have somebody see the value that those things bring to the experience. But I think I really admire that you can speak that language, you value it, and communicate that to your clients.
Well, you're kind to say that. Our entire team feels this way, but keep in mind, if we make a recommendation to an owner, if we say, go out and spend this $1 million on this amenity space or conference room, training room, whatever it is, we have to sell that on the back end.
Yeah.
And to me, to just say, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Owner, just go build this. And then they can ever point the finger back and say, well, I did exactly what you told me to do. You were very vague. You didn't give me any detail. You didn't show me examples of a well-done version of what you were talking about. Then it's my fault. It's not their fault. It's my fault. I would rather have a smaller area that we're talking about, but done well, than a large area done poorly.
Yeah. How will you define the power of design in what you do and in your life?
Well, for one, if you know me well enough, you know that I like to dress a particular way. And to me, again, it's about that attention to detail. It's creative. It's fun colors. So I like to sort of take that into every aspect of my life. I think it makes sense to look nice, sort of regardless of where you go. So that's something that I think about every day. And I assume that the people that are on the other end of the table that are going to be hiring someone in our position, hopefully can appreciate those kind of things from what our team brings, and that we do pay attention to how we look, because quite frankly, we're an extension of them.
Yeah.
We're an extension of an ownership group. And then, with our home, a lot of the things that we just talked about, you have to, if you're going to spend all day preaching what I'm talking about here today, then it would only make sense that you would feel that same way about your home and the way you treat your little plot in life. So we love the fact that we have a home that we can entertain in, with sort of that open kitchen into the living room feel. We just moved recently, and that was something that was important to us, because it's important to me in business, and I know that you can be successful in business by having a certain focus on that design in those details. And so we incorporated that into the renovation and the design of our home. I hope that answers your question.
It does. And I think this is all for today. Thank you, Joe, for your time, for sharing your knowledge and who you are. I really value your expertise, and I look forward to stay in touch.
Well, Jack, I appreciate you having me here. And I will tell you that I think what you bring to our industry is very different. Our team at CBRE has certainly enjoyed working with you, and we hope to continue to do that into the future. So thanks again.
Thank you, Joe.